What's up, guys? Today I'm joined by two very special guests, Barry a Baller and Kobe Ransom. This is our post-game show, 49ers Packers post-game. We almost had the win, but you just left too much time for Aaron Rodgers, who just straight up a bad man. How are you guys doing tonight, Barry a Baller and Kobe?
You know what? The loss was tough. It's kind of dampened the mood. The Packers felt like they had control of this game early. And the Niners, we came fighting back. But as you said, you can't leave too much time for that man, A-Rob. But I'm good, Amin. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, and thanks for having me on. Obviously, the loss is a bummer, but the jerseys were nice. They look good in the field, so that's a positive. Jerseys were looking real clean out there, but Packers spoiled the homecoming, so let's get into it.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask you this question. What was your overall evaluation of Jimmy Garoppolo's performance tonight? Because obviously there was a bunch of downs, and there's also some ups to Jimmy Garoppolo's performance tonight. But what was your overall evaluation of Jimmy Garoppolo's performance tonight?
The fumble, I was really frustrated by that fumble in the fourth quarter where he spiked it. I'm saying, Jimmy, what are you doing? We were driving. It has its ups and its downs. And when do Jimmy Garoppolo's starts not have these peaks and valleys? And ultimately, we couldn't hang with the Packers and put enough points on the board. Not only that, the rushing game, we had 15 yards at halftime. We could not establish the run. Trey Sermon did pick it up in the second half, but anytime you're playing the Packers, you want to run the ball on them, and we didn't do it in that department.
Yeah, as you said, it's very up and down. But you can't spot the Packers 17 points before you get yours. And that first, I think it was the first drive when you missed Kittle on what was like a 2-yard pass and he just misses them somehow. You just can't have that. And the thing about ups and downs from Garoppolo is that his downs were so bad that it cost him the game. That fumble really is what did it, because you give the Packers more points and you end up losing by 2 points. And so that's really what does you in. Niners could have extended their lead there on that drive and instead have to – I won't get into too much about, scoring too early or whatever. It's just kind of how it is. Those are games like last year. Not last year, 2019 Niners win those close games. We're talking about the Steelers game, the Saints game, just games like that where they come out in the end. But Jimmy, man, it's it's frustrating because I think we saw in this game again why they made the trade to 3 to get Trey Lance in the building, because there are things that Jimmy just can't do. Overall, he was really just average. He had some good moments in this game. Obviously, you got the game-winning drive, and he was solid in that drive. But unfortunately, his mistakes earlier in that game ends up putting you behind the 8-ball really early, and it's just tough to make up that kind of lead, especially with the way the defense looks right now with the secondary. The corner position is just not. We knew this was coming. We knew it was coming when they didn't.
Devontae Adams. We had no answer for him.
And people just say, "Oh, the pass rush will solve it all." No, because there's ways to get around it. The screens, quick passes, and if we're going to put your corners on islands against Devontae Adams, you're asking for it, man.
Because, but I don't know why they put Emmanuel Mosley on Sanders. Sometimes they would just put Lenore, whoever on Sanders. They would you're gonna get beat by that so badly, especially if you have if it was Verrett, then that might have been a different story. But you're putting Emmanuel Mosley and Lenore on Devontae Adams, and Devontae Adams just torches. He torched us.
Yeah, the Niners don't have a corner anymore who can, defend one of those receivers for an entire game. Then that's just going to continue going, forward through the season with the Cardinals and Seahawks coming up, and the Seahawks first next week, and they're coming off 2 losses, so they might be coming out, obviously, on fire a bit. So it's a tough loss, but I think we all know the reasons why we lost this game.
Can we take it back to that last 30 seconds? Juice scores the touchdown, right? And I'm saying I was hoping he got tackled just short of the end zone, because I'm thinking if he scores, that's going to be too much time. Yeah. But he does, all right? So A-Rod got the ball back with what, 39 seconds
left.
Right?
My dad.
And the defense was way too soft. We can't give up these huge chunk plays over the middle. It was too easy. And on that second completion to Davante Adams, I could see Jimmy Ward was flustered out there. He didn't know where to line up. And that's when they got the second chunk play, enough to get Mason Crosby within field goal range. And I thought that last defensive series was really frustrating.
Yeah. No, especially because we knew where the ball was going with Rodgers. We know he was throwing it to Davante Adams. The first time he got burned, fine, which was blown coverage, whatever you want to call it. Davante Adams catches it. But on the 3rd and 10, you know where the ball's going. He's not throwing it to any other receiver besides Davante Adams. And Davante Adams catches it with ease. He was basically pretty much wide open. Davante Adams catches it with ease. I mean, it was very frustrating, that final defensive snap, defensive possession. I would say it was really frustrating.
I mean, when your pass rush isn't getting there, and that's the strongest part of your defense, I mean, you're gonna have a rough time. And they, considering how banged up the Packers' offensive line was, they really weren't getting much pressure. You know, the game plan by Green Bay was fantastic and helping to, obviously, Bosa. I don't know what happened to D Ford. He had a great first game, and now he's feel like he hasn't been out there, and he's been playing. But there was a play where Ford was out in coverage for some reason. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what the call was, but there was a play where Ford was out in coverage. Yeah. I'm not sure what Ryans is doing on that play call, but just and that's kind of where you kind of have some issues, is inexperience with D'Amico Ryans against, obviously, the offense of the caliber of the Packers with Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams. They did not adjust very well. Obviously, they kept getting they stuck with the one-on-one coverage for way too long in that game. Then they went, obviously, to two high safeties and kind of just giving these corners some help on the outside. But even still, the coverage is way too soft, and Rodgers rip them apart, and they're going to keep doing that. I mean, it's going to be tough going forward because you got Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray coming up next, and it doesn't get easier from here, really. Yeah. And it's just the defense. This is what the concern we had with an inexperienced, defensive coordinator, and also not having a good secondary this year. These corners don't scare anyone. They're going to get tested and tried all year long. There's no one you respect in that in the secondary. And now with the Norman injury, we'll see where they go next. But if you got to put Davante Adams out there, or even Lenore, he's a rookie, inexperienced, those quarterbacks coming up are going to pick on him a lot coming up, and it's going to be tough times for this defense.
There was one play where Rodgers did pick on him, where Marcus.
Yeah, where Lenore he botched the coverage. Yeah. There's no one in the flat, and he didn't play his zone deep enough, and he ended up letting the touchdown up to Valdez-Scantling. Then in the first half, he had that play where Rodgers knew that he had Adams on Lenore, and he just obviously looked right his way and threw it right to him. So, I mean, it doesn't get any easier. They're going to shore this up because, teams are going to see this. They're going to see this big weakness on the Niners defense, and they'll continue to exploit it, and it can only get worse from here.
I thought Rodgers did a really good job at getting rid of the ball quickly. I don't think he was holding it too long, so that is also what kind of negated the pass rush. But, frustrating defensive performance, and sometimes you got to tip your cap. Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams, they tore us apart.
Yeah. No, but it's like when like you brought the 37 seconds, I didn't want Juice to score a touchdown because my dad was getting up. He was giving me a high five. I'm like, sit back down. No, like you leave 37 seconds for Aaron Rodgers to do his thing, especially with our cornerbacks. Aaron Rodgers is gonna do it, and Aaron Rodgers destroyed us in those 37 seconds, gets the field goal, and we lose the game. But I feel like with Jimmy G, I think Jimmy G put us in a win-loss situation, if that makes sense. Because if we didn't have that fumble, we were in stride. Let's say even if we didn't score a touchdown, we could have at least gotten a field goal. Then Rodgers would have to score a touchdown. But I feel like it was just that one fumble that Jimmy Garoppolo had that could have been a turning point for the Niners getting this victory. But if it was just that one fumble for me, honestly.
Well, it's tough to say how fast it should have scored because I think, in your mind, the way the offense was so up and down throughout the game, you just get in the end zone because you need a touchdown, obviously. And if you start getting picky about how you're going to get it, then things can kind of go awry. Because Jimmy was, this defensive line got pressure today, the Packers defensive line, which we didn't expect because their defensive line hadn't really been great, up until this point. So Jimmy was up against some pressure today for like the first time all year for the most part, and he didn't react very well to it. He was very panicky. He was very flustered whenever people got around his feet and everything like that. That's what led to the fumble for the most part because a guy coming towards him, he just has to try to get rid of it. Should have had grounding in that first half too. There wasn't a receiver in the area when he threw the ball onto the ground. And he flustered it there too.
On the Packers. Did the Packers coach? If you look at the sideline, they showed the sideline, bro. He was pissed like so many calls. They just want to get, especially that Devontae Adams hit though. He was pissed the whole game. He was just yelling at the refs.
I thought Jimmy got him in the chest though. I didn't see a lot of helmet to helmet on that.
Yeah,
replay.
He did get in the chest. I think that just the way that Adams laid there, it made it look worse than it was. He's like, man, hit him in the head. But I didn't see him get like clean helmet hit. He had shoulder pad into the chest is what I saw. But people will probably be like, no, he hit him in the head. But it's whatever. But yeah, just that first half, just without that Trenton Cannon return, who knows how much worse it could have been? Because I don't know if Jimmy would have been able to drive the rest of the field if they had to start from the 25 or the 30 or something like that with like a minute 30 left. I mean, that return really sparked the offense, and if they didn't have that, things could have been even worse. And then, obviously you see the nice Trey Lance touchdown, but Jimmy had a touchdown pass earlier if IU catches it. So, I think they score there regardless whether Trey comes in or not. But just that first half, without that Cannon return, the things probably get worse. That game probably doesn't even get as close as they end up getting. For the Niners, they can't start off games that slow anymore. They can't. You can't spot teams 3 scores to start the game, especially against better teams. This is what we thought would happen against. This is what we feared would happen after we saw last week. Niners are just stalling for a quarter and a half, and because the Eagles can't convert, they're able to stay in the game and go into halftime with a lead. You play against the Packers like we see, that doesn't happen. You stall on offense and you end up down 17 points.
And you got Trey Lance just standing there on the sideline. The offense needs to spark. And
legit, Trey Lance wears his helmet the whole game when he's like standing on the sideline.
Yeah, he's standing next to Rich Scangarello, the cute quarterback coach.
And honestly, for me, I thought they should have put in Trey Lance in the first half. Jimmy throws the interception. They're not driving the ball down the field. Jimmy's like, especially like if you look at the announcers before the game, like Chris Collinsworth, they kept saying, can Jimmy Garoppolo, in that offense, be able to compete with Aaron Rodgers, right? They couldn't in the first half. They just couldn't. Can Jimmy Garoppolo go in a dual battle with Aaron Rodgers? He just couldn't in the first half. Packers scored 17 unanswered, and like you said, if it wasn't for that Trent Cannon kick return, I don't know if Jimmy Garoppolo could have drive down from like the 25 all the way to score a touchdown. I really don't.
And we struggled to run the ball, and that's the second week in a row where we've struggled to run it. And we know the run game is a staple of the Shanahan offense. Coming into the week, we were all speculating who's going to be the second running back, right? We knew Sermon was going to get some work, right? And it turned out it was Juszczyk. Juszczyk had a heavy workload today. He had 5 carries for 14 yards, and he caught 4 balls for 37 yards. So Juszczyk, he showed up. He got some opportunities, did pretty well in the running game. We saw the nice receptions. And Kyle Juszczyk, I thought he had a really strong performance today.
Yeah, he finally got utilized in the game. He's obviously the best, fullback in the league as far as, running the ball, being a receiver in the pass game. I wish they could have featured more just because he's such a mismatch for a lot of guys and just the way you can use him in so many different ways. He finally got used in this game. So yeah, that was a positive from this game is Juszczyk having a nice game. But if they can't run the ball, that's where his offense goes, really. And this is 2 weeks in a row. And the Packers were a team where, you look into their defense and they was like, we watched the defense the first 2 weeks and like, okay, you can move the ball on this team. And we thought the offense would have a big day. And eventually they kind of did. They had 28 points scored. But that first half and only having 67 rushing yards the entire game, you can feel the loss of Mostert and how much he really helped this running game. I personally, I thought that Kyle, obviously knowing how good of an offensive coordinator, or not offensive coordinator, but offensive play caller he is, just would be able to open this run game. But at the end of the day, you feel like Jimmy has to affect that too, because these defenses stack the box and stack the middle of the field. And it's going to make it harder and harder for the Niners to run the football. And when the box is crowded like that, and Jimmy can't obviously, make a defense have to respect, the deep ball or have to respect the outside of the field, they can crowd the box and go unpenalized. And as this continues to go on, it's only going to get harder and harder for this offense to get something going. And it's just you gotta find a way to attack defenses somewhere other than the middle of the field because you can't rely on this every single game.
Yeah, the run
And
game.
you know what? The pick. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Amin.
No, the run game wasn't there in like the first half. The run game just was not there, right? And that's my thing, right? If we can't run the ball effectively against Seattle or against the Rams, if we can't run the ball effectively, the game is on Jimmy Garoppolo's hands. Like the game is on Jimmy Garoppolo's shoulders. I mean, can Jimmy Garoppolo, carry the offense and score points if the run game isn't there? Because the run game, even if you look at the 2019 team, the run game helped him out a lot. Trey Sermon, the first half, he did pick it up in the second quarter. Not the second quarter. He did pick it up in the second half. But if we can't run the ball effectively, how well is Jimmy Garoppolo gonna play? Can Jimmy Garoppolo get the ball down the field and can he score touchdowns? I don't know.
And he did, but eventually he did get it together. It's kind of just the up and down thing where Jimmy will have a good drive and then he'll follow up with what we saw with the fumble, where it's like, Jimmy, what was that? Like, and it ended up costing you the game. But that's just kind of how
the fumble was bad, but that interception, I mean, can we take a moment to appreciate Jair Alexander's skill on that? I mean, they said it on the broadcast. He didn't have anyone to cover, and he went from left field to center field to intercept that ball. And it was a good ball from Jimmy. It would have been right in stride to Kittle.
Yep. If Jair wasn't there, that's a hell of a throw from Jimmy. I thought that was probably one of his best deep balls he's thrown. If Jair wasn't there, it'd been a great play. But yeah, Jair made an excellent play on that ball coming from right.
And that's on Kyle. You got to do something to occupy Jair. You got to have a route over there to at least keep him honest.
Yeah, there's nothing over there. There's no one inside the field, so he could have did whatever he wanted. And he saw the ball go up. A lot of air under it. That's how Jimmy throws his deep balls. But obviously Jair has to cover someone else. He's not there to make that play. And it was a good ball. I was like, wow, that's a good ball. If Jair's not there, that's a catch by Kittle. But unfortunately, just Jair's are making play.
Do you think they should have put in Lance in the first half when Jimmy was struggling, or do you think they should have put in Lance for more snaps? Do you think?
My answer is always going to be just play Lance. Period. That's always going to be my answer. But I mean, it's tough because there's got to be a reason, right? There's got to be a reason that they're not starting Lance at this point. So, I mean, I don't know what the deal is. We're not in the quarterback, rooms, throughout the week. We're not in the film session. So, it's not telling what Lance is and isn't doing or he can and cannot do at this moment. But I feel like at some point, if the Niners lose more games like this, I think we're going to see Trey Lance starting at some point because you can't continue to lose games because you can't get it going on offense.
Yeah.
It's got to be getting close to being Lance season. One more loss. We got a couple tough games coming up before the bye week. If we drop one of these, I think that makes it easier come during the bye week to make a full installation and make the switch to the young buck.
No, but that's the thing, right? Like, let's say we do lose to Seattle, we lose to Arizona. We can't lose some of those divisional games, especially because it's a divisional game. But also, like, if you look at the Cardinals and the Rams, the only thing that's struggling right now is Seattle, but they're probably going to bounce back, and they're probably going to look good next week against, especially with our corners. And we have to go up against DK and Tyler Lockett, who are both studs, and DK popped off today for a game. But, like, we can't afford to lose games because, especially considering how tough the division is. Because both of the other teams are 3-0. If Rams are continuing to win games, if the Cardinals are continuing to win games and we're dropping games here and there, we win one or lose one, if we're continuing to drop games, we're not going to be, third seed isn't going to get us to the playoffs. It's just not.
Yeah. I mean, just the offense has to be better. Only 298 total yards of offense today. And that's just, we saw what it took to beat Seattle. I mean, Kirk Cousins had himself a day. In the game before that, Ryan Tannehill was nice, dicing up that secondary. This is the thing. The Packers defense coming in wasn't great. It's just, but defending the Niners makes it a little bit easier because Jimmy can only hurt you in one area, and that's over the middle of the field. And if you can defend that, and that's really all you got to defend, and the Packers can play soft, and they don't have to respect the outside the numbers or down the field, it makes these things easier for these defenses coming up. So it doesn't matter how bad the defense looks. We saw it last year.
And the run game's not going.
Yeah,
throw that in there.
Yeah, so I mean, it just makes it a little bit easier for these. No matter how good or bad defenses are, it just makes the job a little easier for them because they only have to do half the job. They only have to defend the entire field. They don't have to defend. You're going to get a lot of screens. a lot of touch passes, and every once in a while you get a play action over the middle. And if the running game isn't going, it's going to be harder and harder for the Niners to do that successfully. And just we come back to the fact that the Niners offense is limited with Jimmy Garoppolo, and this is not a surprise. This is not anything that is a secret anymore. It's known. And in 2019, the Niners had that element of surprise because Jimmy had only played 9 games going into that season, so he was still an unknown commodity. That's not the case anymore. The league knows who Jimmy Garoppolo is, and they know what to take away and how to make things rough for him. And as he continues to show that he has a weakness in those same areas, teams are going to do the best they can to make sure he has to beat them in those areas. And if he can't do it, you're going to see more games like this. The Niners offense either starts slow or there's mistakes in key moments throughout the game, and it just makes things tougher. It doesn't make it any better. The defense seems like it's not going to be something you can lean on throughout this season with the way the secondary is looking.
Yeah. I'm surprised. Sorry to cut you off, Eric, but I'm surprised the D-line didn't play better because the D-line, especially considering how banged up the Packers' offensive line was, I expected the D-line to have hell of a day today, and they just didn't. Especially like Bakhtiari wasn't playing, Elton Jenkins wasn't playing, the second string left tackle Bosa. I think he didn't have a sack today. The D-line didn't look good, especially behind the banged up Packers offensive line. Going up against the banged up Packers offensive line, they didn't look that good today.
And that's the thing, because I take it out of the game because the quick game from the Packers. I mean, you run a bunch of screens, running like slants, you get the ball out in under 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds. I mean, the pass rush can't do anything. You can't get there that fast unless you blitz or somebody comes unblocked. But, when they're double teaming Bosa and you got all that time, I think Rodgers was sacked, 1 time in this game? And, I mean, it's just – they can get taken out of the game. The pass rush isn't going to be able to save the Niners defense every game, every week, because you can game plan for it. You can get them out of the game. We saw it in this game. The Niners defense of line, the strength of this team, was almost a non-factor. And if that's going to be the case going forward, it's just going to be tough. I think we're in an era now where you got to have capable players in the secondary, and right now the Niners just don't really have that.
This was the first game where I was thinking Diamador Lenore. I don't know if he's a starter right now. I mean, again, he's going against Devontae Adams, but pass interference, just getting torched back shoulder. He had a tough day out there, and Josh Norman going down. I hope Josh is all right because we're getting thin. Drake Kirkpatrick, we saw he's going to be the next man up, but actually Dante Johnson was out there. And whenever we got Dante Johnson out there, there's always a reason to be concerned.
Yeah, he didn't even look that good, honestly.
No, he got torched.
It doesn't help that Ambry Thomas, your third-round pick, is a healthy scratch the last 2 weeks, and your secondary is thin already, and you don't want him out there. I mean, that doesn't look good either. When you could have had, and also Aaron Bates is a healthy scratch, and you could have had Asante Samuel, who got another pick today.
Yeah, Asante Samuel Jr. is looking amazing. Me and Kobe were talking about this last time. Like, Aaron Banks is a healthy scratch. Asante Samuel Jr. was there, the 43rd overall pick in the second round. You passed up on him. He's been balling out. Already has 2 interceptions. I mean, he would be great for our team right now. I'm just saying he would be a great help for our team right now.
Something I just thought of, that another reason that negated the pass rush was Robert Tonyan. He only caught 1 ball today, and I did see him constantly chipping on Bosa. One time he came in and he wiped Bosa out to the ground, blindsided him. So they came in with a game plan on how to slow down Nick. And, with Aaron Rodgers getting rid of the ball so quick, it made it tough.
Yeah, it did. And the Rams, watching that game with Buccaneers, they look amazing on offense with Stafford.
They did.
I mean, these Rams, this is not the Jared Goff Rams, Niner fans. This is the Matt Stafford Rams. And, I mean, Deshaun Jackson still looks really fast. Stafford was efficient down the field all game long. Sean McVay.
Chunk plays.
Yeah, McVay is obviously, a top-tier offensive play caller, so you're going to get some nice designs from him. And the way the secondary looked today is like, man, he can easily do that to the Niners as well, because their secondary right now is just it's just not it. And people were saying, well, I mean, they can't run the football. I mean, even the run defense at times was leaky for the Niners. Like, even with Kinlaw back in the game, Niners, I mean, they allowed 100 yards rushing today, 4 yards a carry. I mean, on top of that, with the way their offense moved the ball through the air, you can't stop the run consistently. I mean, it's really piling on, for this defense. And I had my questions, and this is before, the injuries took place, but I questioned whether the Niners defense would be as good as Robert Saleh, because this is Ryan's first year. A lot of times you can have all the talent in the world. If you don't have the coach who's able to adjust accordingly or put players in the right position to succeed, you're going to get beat by the better offensive play callers, the better offensive players. And I think we saw that today, and we may continue to see it down the road. Ryan's just going to be learning on the job. And if that's the case, the Niners offense got to put up points. They got to keep up. And you fall down 17-0. This is second week in a row the offense got off slow. That can't keep happening, because if it does, you're going to be playing catch up every single game, and that's just not a recipe for success.
Yeah, Matthew Stafford, 4 touchdowns, 27 for 38, 343 passing yards, and that defense also. The Rams defense did a hell of a job stopping Brady. Brady was going off the first 2 games. If you look at Brady's stats today, he has 1 touchdown, completed 41 out of his 55 passes. They limited Brady. If you're stopping Brady and that Tampa Bay Bucks team, that Tampa Bay Bucks offense, and you're torching the Tampa Bay Bucks defense, especially with that defense, they're Super Bowl caliber they have Super Bowl caliber defense. But what happens when they play the Niners, like you said, we're gonna get destroyed if we're allowed the same things that happen if Matthew Stafford's gonna cook. It's not the same Jared Goff offense. It's the Matthew Stafford offense. And with our cornerbacks, we're gonna get cooked if we go up against Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, and there's not much they can do. I mean, they might give Sherman a call, they might bring him in, but at the same time, Sherman, another guy who's aging. Obviously, he'll bring some experience to secondary, maybe better communication, so that the corners be in better positions throughout the game. But I don't think Sherman's going to save the secondary. I think if he was still a guy who was highly touted, he would be on the team already. I think there's some regression there, some question marks there. In the Super Bowl, there were times in that playoff run where he got beat deep by Adamson in the championship game. He got beat by Sammy Watkins in that Super Bowl for a big play on one of the final drives. So it's not as if he's going to solve everything bringing him in. So even if they bring Sherman in, I think the secondary is still a weakness. And that's something that's something that you got to address in the offseason. The Niners didn't do that well enough. And now throughout the season, it's going to be an issue.
Do you think it's time to panic about the secondary?
I think you can make a case to be obviously uneasy about it. I mean, the pass rush isn't able to get there, and if your pass rush can't keep the quarterback from abusing the secondary, you're in trouble. Because listen, you got Mosley, who is not a cornerback one. You got Lenore, who's a rookie, so he's going to have his rookie mistakes, even if he hasn't been playing solid to this point. When these experienced quarterbacks get in the game, they're going to pick on him because he's a rookie and inexperienced. So they're going to go at him. Dante Johnson, we know the story. He's not great. And okay, we got Trey Kirkpatrick, who didn't play. Every time it's been getting torched throughout the camp, throughout preseason, and the Lions game. That's why he was inactive. I mean, who do you have to rely on? I mean, you're going to have to be forced to play too high all the time with Ward and Tart to help these corners. And with the way the run defense has been, it makes it easier to run on this team. And I think right now the secondary is a big thorn in the backside for this Niners defense, because it's just you got to be able to defend the pass in this league to be a top team. Or if you can't do that, you got to put up points. And right now the Niners doesn't seem like they can consistently do either of those.
Yeah, your boy Barry Baller. Your boy Mosley got torched today. Mosley, your guy Emmanuel Mosley, he got torched today. I'm just saying, he got torched.
I mean, the guy hasn't been practicing for two weeks. I'm surprised he's even out there, but I'm happy.
I said this is his first action at all. He's been out I think he's out for most of training camp, out for the first 2 games. Like he's going to be rusty out there. So I mean, right now he's your best corner, and that's just not a good look. I know Mosley's solid, but him being your best corner is not a good look.
It's not at all.
I thought Fred Warner played really good, with exception of that PI call, and just like Fred turned around, try to locate that ball. That was a momentum play. Was that third down? I feel like that was a third down.
Well, every PI was on third down.
Majority of the PIs were third downs, and that wasn't what Fred normally. We don't normally see that from Fred Warner. We just don't.
No.
I mean, that's just what Rodgers does. He sees one-on-one coverage, he's going to give his guys a shot. And Russell does the same thing. Like Russell Wilson does the exact same thing. So you gotta get this straight up for next week because Russell's gonna see this on tape and know that okay, these guys, even if my guy isn't getting open, I can throw it their way. And if they're grabbing and tugging and they're not getting their head around, it's gonna be a PI. It's the same thing as a catch for the most part. They still get all that yardage. So I mean, these corners, I mean, they just didn't play well in this game. And I think last week we kind of saw that, you know, Jalen Hurts still has some ways to go. He's not the greatest deep ball thrower, you know, for the most part. And the offense, some of the play calling wasn't great. So we kind of took that as the secondary was better than we thought, you know, but I think it's more so because of the way their offense was run and just the play calling and just the quarterback they had. It's just they couldn't attack Niners downfield, and Rodgers could. And we know Wilson can, and Kyler Murray can, and Matthew Stafford can. And, I mean, going forward, that's going to be your hardest matchups, all the divisional games. You got 6 of them, and it starts next week. So, yeah, I don't know how they fix it. That's my thing. I don't know how they fix this.
I really don't, unless you go out and try to trade for a corner.
But you don't even have the capital like that. Like, I mean,
you
Niners like to have picks, and I just feel like they're going to be hesitant to get rid of already not having the first and the third to give up, you know, a second round pick or their other third round pick or just one of those picks.
I just don't get why they didn't, you know, do something to get a cornerback in either free agency or draft, you know, a second round cornerback like Alexander Samuel Jr. I just don't get why they didn't. Like Devontae Adams today, 12 receptions, 132 yards, and 1 touchdown.
I mean, they did, but not with the guys you want them to get. They brought Verrett back, but
obviously
best corner hasn't played.
But outside of Verrett, who else did they bring? Who else? Obviously, Ambry Thomas was a 3rd rounder, and they drafted Lenore, who's a 5th rounder.
Right? Yeah. I mean, they brought in 3 new corners, but the issue is, well, they not 3 new ones if Verrett was here, but they brought in 3 corners, and Verrett was injury prone, and you had no one behind him who really you could rely on. They brought Mosley back, and I mean, he's okay, but he's not a guy who really is just where it's like, oh yeah, you know, we're gonna be good on that side. It's like, no, Mosley, he's okay, but you know, you can still pick on him a bit. And then they drafted Lenore and Ambry Thomas, and the Thomas one really hurts because that was a 3rd round pick, and he's not even contributing. He's a healthy scratch, and it doesn't make it any better that Aaron Banks is also not contributing. And then let's talk about the right side of the offensive line. I mean, Brunskill and McGlinchey were getting work today. I mean, they weren't great, and that's the weakness on the line. And the Niners, this is why they can't get into obvious passing situations because that right side of the line, even the run game, they were getting pushed around for the most part. But I said this last week. I saw some glimpses of Brunskill and McGlinchey having some struggles, and I know there's a lot more good from them in the last 2 weeks, but I saw areas from like, oh yeah, you know, we play a better team, you know, or if you're in a situation where you have to pass, those guys might give up some pressure. And Jimmy Garoppolo still, for the most part, doesn't handle pressure all that well. And the right side of that line is still a weakness, and it doesn't make you confident, you know, going forward that if the Niners have to pass, that they're going to be able to hold up in protection.
No, Brunskill can get beat by a powerful defensive tackle. That's his weakness, is a powerful DT. But not only that, the Niners, we had in the second quarter, we had a fourth down stop down by the goal line. And I'm thinking, here we go. We got some momentum. We started driving, and what killed that drive was Alex Mack gave up a sack.
Yeah.
And it was an instant, you know, where the pass rush beat him and sacked Jimmy G, and that completely killed the drive.
And this is like, and that's your offensive acquisition. And at center, it's supposed to be the guy who helps fix your line. And if you're getting beat on big plays like that, it's just, you know, just the Niners have to be able to run the football. That's the bottom line. This line is built to run the football. And when you can't run the football, they're not built for pass protection. They're not built like that. They're built to be agile, mobile, get out and move in space and run the football. And when you're struggling to do that, this line is going to get worked. And because this pass rush from the Packers isn't good. They don't have their best pass rusher. They only had 1 sack that came on a fumble from Jared Goff. You know, so that was their only, you know, sack of the season going into this game, and they had 3 in this game, 3 sacks, and some of that's on Jimmy for not getting the rear of the ball, but you know, pressure is there, and you know, this isn't even the best rush you're going to face this season. So that's also a concern going forward. Is the line play wasn't the best in this game. It'll be interesting to see how the PFF numbers come out and see how many pressures there were, which are not always accurate, but compared to the first two games, O-line felt elite, felt fantastic. In this game, they felt a bit more average against a bad defensive line, which doesn't look great.
Yep. And I mean, with the Niners, their offense, like you said, the offensive line doesn't look good. But like, if you look at the Chiefs, their defense is okay too. Their defense isn't that good, but their offense is so damn good that their defense doesn't have to be great. With the Niners, their offense is okay and their defense is okay. The D line has lost. The D line obviously didn't play their best game today, but the Niners don't necessarily have the best offense, where their defense can just play okay, and then the Niners defense can bail them out.
What I will say is I was happy to see George Kittle kind of break loose today. He was making some plays.
Yeah.
I've been wondering, George, where you at? He's been blocking a lot, but today he broke loose, had that big 40-yard catch that led to the touchdown that had us take the lead in the fourth.
Yeah, I mean, I almost thought he was going to break away and score on that play, the way he was running. I was like, they can't.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, they still scored in that drive. I was like, Jesus, I'm like a madman.
I haven't even seen George Kittle do that almost a year now. So I was like, go, George, go, George.
I know, he's fast.
Yeah, but did you see that catch that Deebo Samuel had on Jaire Alexander? It was like third down.
Yeah, that was a tough catch.
That was a hell of a catch by Deebo against Jaire. Jaire has his hand in there. He's like holding on to the football. That was a great catch by Deebo.
Yeah, I mean, there was some good in this game. The Niners have the talent on offense to be a high-scoring offense, but they just need more. They need more from their quarterback. That's the bottom line. And the talent is there. I mean, Ayuk had a better game. You had to drop obviously in the red zone. Kittle is obviously one of the best. It's honestly just disappointing how good Kittle is in the passing game, but he never gets a chance to really do anything in the passing game. Like, he could be utilized the way Kelsey does. If you gave him like this like a volume reception, like just always throw the ball his way, because he's gonna be a mismatch against most guys. He's bigger than cornerbacks and he's faster than linebackers. So yeah, I mean, yeah, the secondary, the covers they were calling, the way they were playing it, at the end of the game they were playing it safe. I think they were assuming the pass rush would get there. That's why they were playing it. Like, they were playing it super soft, and they assumed that Rodgers wouldn't have time to throw, but it didn't work out that way. They 2 passes is really all it took to get them downfield. And that's the biggest worry. Is like, if the pass rush isn't able to affect the game at a level that they were able to in 2019, which is also aided by the fact the secondary was solid on the back end in 2019, so that kind of helped. But if they're not able to get to quarterbacks, enough to affect them throughout the game, I mean, the defense is toast, man, because the corners cannot defend that long. They cannot.
Yeah.
And especially not these guys. I think even 3 seconds is too long for these guys for the most part. So, yeah, I mean, it feels like the sky's falling a little bit, just from this game, because last week wasn't the best because of that first half. The week before that, you had the defensive collapse at the end of that game that kind of dampened the hopes, and we're all like, oh, we're 2-0 and we're okay. But the issues that we had from those 2 games showed up in this game. And you just kind of wonder, will they keep showing up? And, I mean, if the goal is Super Bowl, this is not a Super Bowl team right now. It's not. This team's going to be fighting for a wild card spot. This is not a Super Bowl team.
Yeah, and I mean, coming into the season, majority of the Niners fans, including myself, I had high hopes for the season. I thought, we're a pretty good team. I thought we would have been at least first seed right now, through 3 weeks. I thought we were a pretty darn good team. I don't think we will be, as of right now, in the first 3 weeks, I don't think we would be scratching for a wild card spot. I think we would at least have a good, secure wild card spot, if not winning the division. But after 3 weeks, it doesn't look like that. The secondary hasn't playing that good. We still have a bunch of injuries where Jason Verrett, Greenlaw, Mostert. So the team hasn't been looking that good. And what makes it worse is that Arizona and Los Angeles have been looking great. They've been looking excellent.
And next week, we're going to have to be chasing around DK Metcalf, who I know had a strong performance today. you know, it doesn't get any easier going and seeing Russell Wilson.
DK Metcalf, you got to go up against Tyler Lockett. I don't know how you're gonna. I think both of those guys are gonna have huge games, like huge games.
Yeah, and I think Lockett was okay from the Vikings game. I heard that he had a knee injury, but I think he was okay. So if Lockett's healthy too, Lockett is another guy I'm worried about the secondary and defending. And obviously it's Russell Wilson, and Russell does this thing against us all the time. And it doesn't matter how good the two teams are and what the situation is. And I know the Seahawks coming in and we're like, oh, they lost 2 in a row, but Russell always has good games against the Niners. And I feel like, especially coming off two L's, I mean, Russell's going to be probably a madman possessed coming in next week. And it's just, yeah, I mean, it got real quick. It got real quick. These 3 games, the Packers and the Seahawks and the Cardinals, and then the bye week. You're trying to get this bye week at 3-2 at the most. Like you got, and it's looking like it could be, just somewhere rough. Trying to get into this bye week at least 300. I mean, at 500, for the most part. So you're 2-1. You can't be 500, but you're trying to get into the bye week at least 3-2. Just try to weather the storm. You got 3 really tough matchups early in the season, and I mean, if they're going into the break at 2-3, I mean, we could see Lance come in after the bye against the Colts, who haven't looked great so far this season. So it might be a softer landing spot than we thought coming into the season. But Niners, they got to get it fixed and got to get it fixed quick because they're not getting a break these next 2 weeks. They got 2 divisional matchups against teams that give them trouble, and it can get bad real quick.
Yep, and it's mainly
we need to see improvements across the board. It's not just the offense. It's not just the defense. I mean, there's multiple facets of this game that need to be improved.
Yep. And the quarterbacks usually give us trouble. Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson, they give us trouble. 2019, every year that we play them, they give us trouble. But my biggest concern about going into Seattle game is how we're going to guard DK Metcalf. Because even last year, we would get torched by DK Metcalf constantly. Whether it was Barrett on DK, whether it was whichever cornerback that we had on the team, we would get torched by DK. DK had a huge game last year at Lumen Field in Seattle last game. Russ kept throwing the ball at DK. I mean, I don't know how we're going to stop DK. As much as Tyler Lockett, I'm worried about both receivers. My biggest concern is how we're going to stop DK Metcalf.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even, the thing is, like, it's not even just, Seattle's got 2 guys. We couldn't handle one, today, with Devontae Adams. And you got 2 in Seattle with Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. And it's just rough. And it's just a rough look going into the Seattle game because it feels like Seattle, even though they haven't looked great, they have what they need to really expose this Niners defense. And Russell Wilson will negate the pass rush by himself by extending plays. Then at that point, it's on the corners. And this game that we just watched does not give you any confidence that these corners are going to be able to stop these receivers down the field. And that spells trouble.
And Chris Carson's no slouch at running back.
Right, yeah.
I had to see what he did today. 12 carries for 80 yards and a touchdown. So Chris Carson, man, he runs hard. So you always got to respect the rushing game of the Seahawks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, but one thing I will say is that next week I think we will be able to run the ball a little bit better because, I mean, the Vikings were able to run the ball without Dalvin Cook.
I mean, that's what we think, but Niners have been running the ball well tonight. I mean,
I just hope they can run a little bit better than they did against the Packers because, I mean, Alexander Madison, who's not even the Vikings starting running back, he put up 26 carries and 112 yards on the Seattle Seahawks. I just hope that we can at least do a little bit better than we did tonight against the Seattle defense.
Like, can we get a drive of Trey Lance and Kyle dip into the bag? Like, use the goods. Like, we need to win now, dog.
Dude, well, I mean, Kyle legit jet sweep or running or toss plays. Like, they would get stuffed, and then like at one time out of like 3, we would get maybe like 5, 6, 7, 8 yards or like a first down. And then other times we would just get stuffed. We would just straight up get stuffed on the tosses and the jet sweeps.
Yeah, I mean, the Lance thing, I think is more than just playing him or not playing him. because think about the locker room. All these guys are behind Jimmy. These guys, they got Jimmy's back, and a lot of the important vets in this team want Jimmy out there playing. And also, if Trey Lance comes out while Jimmy Garoppolo comes in while Jimmy Garoppolo is struggling, it looks like a benching, and that also doesn't look good I don't think that's what Kyle wants. The way that he plans to use Lance, I think we're only going to see him a couple plays at a time until Lance is starting. And to be honest, I think it makes much of a difference, really. I think you gotta have him play the whole game to really feel the effect of Trey Lance. Because if not, especially with the run game as it is, like Trey Lance can help that. Because now you got to play 11 on 11 and not 10 on 11. And just the proposition of Lance keeping the ball will make these defenders hesitate for just a little bit to offer more creases in the running game. There's ways that Lance can help, but you just gotta wonder where he is mentally, or at least in the mental aspect of the game, or just if it's in terms of how comfortable Kyle feels with him in pressure situations to put him out there. Because if not, we're only going to see him sparingly, and if so, I don't think it's going to affect games that much. And it's a little annoying just knowing that the Niners traded what they traded to get a guy who can do just things that can help this offense, and Kyle just doesn't have him out there often enough to really do those things.
Yeah,
Kyle Shanahan went 10-6 with RG3 in 2012. They were top 5 in points, rushing, and it's like, man, you're telling me you can't do something similar with Trey Lance and really bolster this running game? Their lead tailback that year, Alfred Morris, a rookie Alfred Morris. So it's not like they had some all-pro tailback helping out RG3. No.
Yeah, I know people see how the rookies look so far and think like, okay, you definitely can't put Trey out there because rookies look tough. They're struggling. But I'm like, it's different though with Kyle, because Kyle's going to scheme things up for Lance to really have open receivers and have just favorable matchups, in the play calls. And it's just going to be, I think it'll be a different thing. It's not going to look the same as it's looked with Justin Fields today, or with Mac Jones today, or the way that Lawrence looks so far, or the way that Zach Wilson and that team around Zach Wilson is just rough with a rookie coaching staff. So a lot of these guys, they're not in situations to really perform well. It's different with Lance. This is a roster that can support him with a coaching staff and a play caller that can support him well enough for him to be out there playing. So, people see the rookies come out, and I know they're going to say, well, this is like Kyle handled it. There's probably more to it than just how he looks. But when Jimmy's missing a receiver 2 yards in front of him, or when he's throwing the ball into the dirt every time he gets somebody around his feet, you just start thinking like, okay, what are we doing here? It's not like Jimmy's doing much better than how Trey could look out there.
Yeah.
So there's got to be something else to it. I feel like it's not just play. It's probably just a locker room thing as well, where these players or Kyle has to like sell them on playing Lance right now. And unless Jimmy continues to lose them games, or they continue to lose games with Jimmy starting, that just might not really come into play until later in the season.
Well, I don't think the locker room would get mad if the Niners with Trey Lance would win games. Like if we're winning games with Lance in their center, I think the locker room would be fine. But like when the narrative, Trey Lance, what if he doesn't do well with the Niners, right? And if you look at the other rookies, obviously now Justin Fields gets sacked 9 times. But all of us can agree here that the Niners overall team is way better than the Bears team. As much as Bears fans still say they have an elite defense, no, they don't. Their defense was elite in 2018. Now it's not. If you look at Trevor Lawrence, he's playing with his team as a rookie head coach. Their team is also another rebuilding team. The Jets also rookie head coach, rookie offensive coordinator, rookie defensive coordinator. That's also another rebuilding team. Mac Jones, he struggled today. But with the Niners, it's different because you have a play caller in Kyle Shanahan, who's a young genius, who's a genius play caller. You have a good offensive line outside the right side. You have a good offensive line. Hopefully, the run game can get going. You have arguably a best tight end or top 2 tight end in the league. You have a solid to good defense. So how can Trey Lance not succeed? And it's not like you said, it's not like Jimmy Garoppolo is doing any better right now. It's not like Jimmy Garoppolo is wowing us. He's doing all right also. And either way, if you start Trey Lance or you start Jimmy Garoppolo, you still have the fourth best quarterback in the division.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see what he does. I mean, we were thinking, nothing would change until the Niners lost the game. Well, now they lost the game, and we'll see what happens next week. And if they win or lose that one, and if they lose next week too, we saw the stat today on Sunday Night Football. Jimmy, since he's been starting, hasn't lost 2 games in a row with the Niners. So we'll see, how they come out and they play next week. But if they lose again next week, then it really starts to get loud, and Kyle really has to start thinking about, do I put Trey in? Do I start Trey or not? And it's going to take more than this. Jimmy is going to be fine, especially because that second half, and you can put this. People are going to put this game on the defense. That's what they're going to do, because Jimmy gives them the lead. They scored on their final drive. Defense couldn't hold on to the lead. If they do, then Jimmy is the savior in this game. It's like, oh look, another game-winning drive for Jimmy Garoppolo. So this game isn't gonna make Jimmy play less or question whether he should start or not. For really, a couple more losses and maybe another bad performance from Jimmy Garoppolo. And maybe we can start talking about it more with Kyle.
No, but Jimmy Garoppolo definitely has ups and downs. But that drive that he pulled together at the end, I'll give him all the props for that, because that was a great game-winning drive.
Yeah, it was a good drive.
Third and 10, he converts, and that was a great drive by Jimmy. He would have won the game if it wasn't for the defense. We wouldn't be like, yo, should we consider starting Lance? Yada yada yada. If Jimmy won the game, if the defense could hold it, if the defense could make that stop and not allow Aaron Rodgers to score that, not allow Max Crosby to get that field goal, but. I think Jimmy Garoppolo that final drive, he did a good drive, but yeah.
What'd you guys think about Trey Sermon? What'd you guys think about his so he had 10 carries, 31 yards. I thought he was all right. He had some runs. I don't think the line really gave him too many holes to get through.
No, they didn't.
They just didn't. No, I'm surprised the run game hasn't looked better, because the run game is basically the sole and purpose of the best thing in our offense. We just run the ball a lot. That's our thing. That's what we're known for. We run the ball a lot. And right now, we've been trying to run the ball. Juice had 5 carries. Sermon had 10 carries. And then we just stopped because it just wasn't working. We just stopped the run, which majority of the time we just don't do. We usually pound the ball down teams' throats. But then we just stopped the run completely, and we just started throwing the ball a little bit more. And then obviously we did start running it in the second half, but then when it came to close to the end of the second quarter, we didn't run the ball. We kept passing the ball with Jimmy Garoppolo, which we don't usually see a lot.
Yeah,
I mean, even Eli Mitchell, when Eli Mitchell was out there, he wasn't making me feel really good about the running back position. Like, he's just another solid guy.
Hasty looks the best so far. I mean, when Hasty had, before he went out with the ankle injury, he was getting yards, with the holes created in that Eagles game, but they don't have him at this point. It's just rough. And you got guys you brought off the street, and Kerryon Johnson and Kirkpatrick, and I think Mitchell will be back next week. But he and Manserman both struggled, and those are guys you drafted. And you kind of wonder if, at some point, it's just, the quarterback play kind of has an effect on it, because if you can't threaten the defense down the field, if you can't force a team to play too high, and kind of like lighten the box a bit, and you can stack the box, it makes it easier to defend the run. And next week, you got Jamal Adams coming to town. Adams stays in the box, so he's going to be a factor in run defense. So, we'll see what they do going forward. But if the pass game can't force this defensive secondaries to back off a bit, and they continue to play press, they continue to load the box, it's not going to get much easier for this run game. And it only makes things harder to create lanes, and these backs, they're not Mostert. You can't just give it to him and just get an automatic 6 yards or a touchdown. This is how Mostert, he's a home run hitter. They don't have that. So you got to be able to create lanes for these running backs. And if you can't do that, these backs they can't really create something out of nothing for the most part. These backs just aren't, at this point, not capable of doing that. And it's just another question mark going forward. Can the run game get back to being effective? Because without Mostert, they haven't been. I know they had the game against the Lions where Mitchell ran for over 100, but since then, they've been struggling, and we'll see if they get it together. But right now, it doesn't look good.
Yep, it doesn't. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Yeah, I mean, when Devontae Adams was carving us up, I couldn't help but think about that game of Madden I had versus you, where I was also just constantly throwing the ball to Devontae Adams.
I think you know, he had a pretty good game, but at least it wasn't as bad as what you did to me in Madden. Okay, me and Paul do play Madden on Sunday, every Saturday, or every weekend. I don't want to say the exact stat line, but Devontae Adams, he has something like 400 yards and like 7 touchdowns.
God.
We don't want to talk about that anymore. Okay, we don't want to talk about that. 400 yards, 7 touchdowns. Okay, we don't talk about that game anymore.
I mean, where are your adjustments, bro? Come on, man. 400.
Dude, he's just so good at Madden, bro. It's like legit. He's like the Chiefs. Okay, the only way to beat him is to outscore him. You make a mistake, he capitalizes on that mistake, and like it takes me maybe like 7 to 9 plays to score a touchdown on him. He'll have that one play where he'll just like launch it up. And I'm like, oh, I already know it's blown, and then he just gets a touchdown. Like every time, at least a 1 or 2 possession touchdown, 1 or 2 play possession touchdown.
That's tough.
That's tough.
That's tough.
Well,
Emma has a question. It's time for Trey Lance, right?
It was time week 1 for me. So
was,
every week I'm saying yes. Every week my answer is yes every week. So
the offense is sputtering. We need to spark it. Yeah, it feels like it.
It is. Jimmy had 1 INT and 1 fumble. It's time for Trey. I mean, I wouldn't be against playing Trey. I really wouldn't. That running TD was so easy. It was. It looked really easy. Well,
it was nice design. You kind of fake the screens to Samuel to the right side and just run left. Like it's just, and then Trent Williams, good Lord, Eric Stokes got just blocked into another realm on that play. That was mean. Well, I mean,
yeah.
Whew, yeah.
Trent Williams is a bad man, but at the end of the day, 37 seconds is just too much time for Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers, he's just a bad man. Okay, I just leave it at that. 37 seconds is just too much time. A loss is a loss, but hopefully the Niners bounce back against Seattle. Hopefully they do. But if you haven't already, go check out Barry Baller's channel. The link is in the description. He's at 489 subscribers, I think. So go check out his channel. Go subscribe to his channel if you haven't already. Go get into 500 as soon as possible. And go follow him on Twitter. The link is in the description. And same thing for Kobe. Go subscribe to his channel, link in the description. And go follow him on Twitter. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, go subscribe to my channel also. Because I'm also trying to get to 500 subscribers. I appreciate everybody watching. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.